Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the OmniViewer, and I'm back with more MonsterVerse news, this time regarding the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong, which will be the next film in the MonsterVerse following Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. Gormaru Island recently posted excerpts of an interview with KOTM director Michael Dougherty, who you may recall also did a little bit of writing on the script for Godzilla vs. Kong. First up, the question came about as to what it was like writing for Godzilla and Kong as characters. I'll just read the excerpt. Question: so how are they different? Dougherty replies, because Kong is a little closer to human. He's a primate as we are. He's allowed to show a slightly larger range of emotions. We expect those very unique and even warm bonding moments between Kong and human beings. That goes back to the 1933 film, where he was never strictly a monster. There was always a very human side to him in the ways that he interacts with us. That was a joy to write. With Godzilla, that's not expected. That's not to say that you can't do it, but any kind of bond between Godzilla and humans has usually been more implied, so you rarely get to see Godzilla's softer side. Whereas with Kong, it's an essential part of the character. If you ever made a Kong film where you didn't get to see the softer side of the character, it would fall short. Now there's more, but I'm gonna stop here for a moment just to comment on this part specifically. In a way, this actually serves as a vindication of a video I made earlier this year, which you can follow the links to see for yourselves if you haven't yet, in which I discussed that the reason people care so much about King Kong is because he is a humanoid creature that we see a certain level of humanity within. Of course, I'm sure this interview is probably going to intensify the who will win debate for this movie. After all, Dougherty speaks about how Kong is a more emotional monster with a bit more humanity to him, whereas Godzilla generally isn't portrayed that way. Not that it can't be done, but it's usually not the case. But it should be pointed out that just because Godzilla is not as emotional and doesn't have the same level of humanity as Kong, that doesn't necessarily mean he'll have none in the movie. I mean, we've already got one scene to that effect in Godzilla 2014, and it looks like we might be getting at least one more such scene in King of the Monsters. I don't think what he's saying here is that Kong is the one we connect to and Godzilla isn't. I think what he's saying is that it's easier to connect with Kong than it is with Godzilla. But that doesn't mean you can't connect with both of them. And indeed, having a certain level of humanity is an essential part of Kong's character, but isn't as essential with Godzilla. Bear in mind though, folks, I'm still Team Godzilla all the way. But enough about that. The interview continues with Dougherty telling us what he personally would like to see if and when the MonsterVerse continues after 2020. Quote, I like the idea of going back in time and telling creature stories from different eras. Skull Island was set in the 70s, but personally I'd like to do Godzilla BC, go back to ancient times and really see the Ray Harryhausen-esque world where primitive humans had to try to survive with these creatures. Maybe we'd get to see the first time mankind truly encountered Godzilla and get to see how that relationship was christened. Now that too is an idea I'd be interested in seeing. This isn't something that's generally been explored when it comes to the kaiju genre. At least not on film it hasn't been. In the comics, we've occasionally seen stories that go back in time to the age when the kaiju were in their element. We haven't really seen much of that on film though. Within the interview, Dougherty specifically alludes to 1 million years BC as the template for what that sort of film would look like. And frankly, I'm all for it. It's been a while since we've had a movie like that, and seeing it with these iconic monsters would be really interesting. Sure, it would be a great departure from the norm in terms of cinema in general. I mean, when was the last time we got a movie like that? Clan of the Cave Bear back in the 1980s? And that was relatively low on creature action. But doing something like a Godzilla BC film? I'd be up for that. And if these next few movies do well, Warner Brothers may be more willing to experiment with those kind of films. So that's something I'm sure will get a lot of people talking, so may as well get started. You know the drill. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until such time as we meet again, this is the OmniViewer signing off. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it as well as subscribe to the channel for more content of a similar nature. Also, check the description for links to our Twitter, DeviantArt, and Patreon pages, as well as the Amazon link for the novel Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, penned by yours truly. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.